Bored with that regular old Caribbean cruise or been to Alaska more times than enough? Well, perhaps I've got the solution for you. Today, we're looking at a South American itinerary all the way from Chile through the Panama Canal and winding up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Stay tuned. My guest today is Carol Patterson, travel expert with Cruise Holidays of Oakville, located in Ontario, Canada. Carol has been in the travel business since 2003, has traveled to 70 plus countries, and has taken just about as many premium and luxury cruises over the years. Her specialty is luxury ocean and river cruise vacations. Hi, Carol. Welcome back to RTE Travel Talk.
Hi, Ken. How are you doing?
Oh, doing fantastic. So, Carol, we get a lot of questions and comments about people that are looking to cruise, and they've been on a lot of cruises, and doing the Caribbean year after year gets to be kind of the same old, same old. I've been there, done that, got the
Right.
t-shirt. So we're always looking to see what's new and interesting out there to highlight for our viewers and listeners. Now, I recently came to the understanding that you just returned from a cruise in South America, or rather that began in South America and transited the Panama Canal. So I was wondering today if we could spend a little time telling us about that and see if it's a good option for viewers and listeners. And maybe we could start with a 30,000 foot level look at where you went and how you did it. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
So where do we start?
I started in Santiago. So I flew in Santiago and I spent a few days there, and I absolutely recommend it. Santiago is an awesome city. Lots to do.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot to do. A lot of history down there. Architecture's beautiful, and it was a pleasant few days. Weather was great.
So that becomes like an experience unto itself rather than just flying into like Fort Lauderdale or Miami, which a lot of people have
Yes,
been there time after time. You can spend some time in
right,
Santiago, Chile to learn about the culture
right.
and stuff. Cool.
Right. And so if you stay in like the city center, then, like we always say, stay where everything's happening and you're within walking distance of a lot of things, lots of areas to stop and eat and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can stay just a little bit out. I stayed just a little bit out closer to the funicular area, and still nice neighborhood, great walking, lots to see and do around that area too.
So we did a pre-cruise stay in Santiago. Where did we go from there?
Yes. I toured again down to Valparaiso on the day that I was supposed to board. And so I did a winery and a little bit of Valparaiso. And there's an interesting city too. So if you are wanting a pre-cruise stay and you want to do maybe four days or 5 days, you could do a couple days in Santiago, a couple days in Valparaiso, because that's quite an interesting city as well. And then my port was San Antonio, so that was about an hour and a bit from Valparaiso.
Okay. Who did you cruise with?
I was on Holland America.
Okay. And how long was it?
17 days.
Oh, wow. That's a long voyage.
Well, just think about it. It's like 10 days longer than or it's 7 days longer than your 10-day Caribbean cruise
Yep.
for people that are, wanting a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Where all did you visit and once you got on board?
So the three countries that I visited, I started off in Chile,
Right.
and it was Peru and Ecuador, Panama, and then on to Fort Lauderdale. Those were the three countries, cruising up from starting in Chile and going to Peru and then Ecuador.
Right. In Ecuador and Peru, did you have the opportunity for shore excursions to see even more of South America?
I did.
Yeah.
In Peru, we actually did a boat tour out to the Belstera Islands.
Right.
And they had sea lions and penguins and all that there. That was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So I did that. I did an indigenous museum, Pachamaca, or Pachamaca. One of those long words that you can't pronounce.
Exactly.
It used to be a pilgrimage many years ago, so that was very cool out of Lima. I did that. Ecuador, I didn't have time to do a whole lot to get into where the coffee plantations and things like that were. But there is a very good tour that goes to the coffee plantations and sees Panama hats being made and things like that people did enjoy.
Right. One thing about Ecuador, though, when people consider a South American itinerary, when you're on a cruise, do you have the opportunity to visit Machu Picchu or any of these places? or is it
You
too
know
far
what? Yes,
away?
they, yeah, no, they did. It was an overland excursion.
Right,
Well, some people did it. The consensus I got is yes, they liked it, but not enough time because it takes too long to get there
right,
from where the ship was.
right,
And so it's, by the time you get there, I think it was a 3-day land excursion. So one day to get there, one day up and see it, and the rest of the time to get back.
right. Yeah.
So
So it's kind of like a drive-by.
so you do have to consider on how much time you want
Yeah,
there. Do you want to see the Sacred Valley in the morning? Do you want to that kind of thing?
yeah.
But if it's on your wish list and you're only going to be there this one time only, why not, right?
Right. But again, I guess if it's on your wish, if it's truly on your bucket list and you want to
Absolutely.
take in more of it, this may not be the best choice.
No,
Yeah,
because you're really tired when you come back to the ship. I think those people came back to the ship at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
right.
So they're very tired when they came back to the ship, but they saw it.
So we're on board for 17 days.
Hmm.
Before you actually reached Panama to do your Panama transit, roughly how many days would you have been kind of in the Pacific, on the Pacific side?
I got there 4 days, so 12 days,
Oh wow! And how many of those 12 days were sea days, Carol?
six,
Wow.
six for sea days. So you've got a lot of time to relax
Yeah.
and spend on board,
So,
sort of thing.
in this type of cruise at this length, the fact that there were 6 sea days prior to arriving at the Panama Canal gives you a good sense of just the distance involved in this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I kept reading my itinerary and everything, and I thought, okay, total to by the time I got to Fort Lauderdale, that was 8 sea
Yeah,
days. So if you're thinking of a long journey and if you love your sea days and things like that, it's perfect.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it gives you time in each of the cities. We were
yeah,
2 overnights in Lima, so you had that time to explore
yeah.
Lima, but it gave you time to relax on the ship as well. And our weather was perfect. Our weather, Ken, was absolutely perfect. It was so nice and sunny, and the water was like glass.
Really, really. So,
Yes, I was not prepared for all of that.
wow. So refresh my memory. What time of year was it?
March,
So,
March to April.
so obviously
Yeah,
that's a good time of year then.
it was a very good time of year.
Wow.
So it was like we could not believe that the water was just like
Yeah.
glass. It was, I had to look out every morning over the balcony and go, "We moving? Oh yeah, okay."
Wow, that's amazing. Like a lot of
Hmm.
people when they think of South America, they kind of a lot of folks probably equate it to, oh my goodness, it's going to be like Drake's Passage right down at the tip of South America, and it's going to be rough, but not at all.
And funny enough, there were people on the cruise that had started off in Buenos Aires and they went through Drake's Passage and it was so calm. So it had to be that time of year. I was
Interesting.
thinking I'm on the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be a little bit rougher than the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And it was just very, very, very calm.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Now, with 8 sea days, that means a lot of your time is going to be spent on board your particular cruise
Hmm.
line. So, choice of cruise line is probably extremely important in
Yes.
picking this type of a cruise, I would think.
I mean, there's plenty of to do. There's people on board that do, the talks every day that tell you either about the port that you're going to go to or things, interesting facts like I found the history of the Panama very, very interesting. All of that is, there's lots to do
Right.
during the day.
Right. So I gather when it comes to choosing a cruise line, you were on Holland America, but there's also lots of other cruise lines that do the same itinerary or something very close to it. So it's imperative to have a good conversation with your travel expert to find the one that's going to work for you the best, I would assume, right?
This itinerary is not a back and forth. It's goes through from Florida in the fall,
Right.
coming down, and then the back and forth is Buenos Aires, Santiago, right? Or Rio, Buenos Aires. And then again in the spring, it transits again through the Panama Canal. So it's not like it's done often, it's done twice.
Oh, really?
And it's done that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done that way with most of the ships, like Oceana and Regent. It's done that way. It's a transit and a
Yeah.
way to get down and
Yeah.
around.
So in other words, something like this is not something that's going week to week to week to week.
No, it's
This
not.
is something that's going to be scarce. So if you're looking for something along these lines, you need to probably plan well in advance to get
Hmm.
what you're looking for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of doing a Panama Canal and you don't want just the transit from Miami to California, either San Diego or wherever, Los Angeles, this is another
Yeah.
option that gives you different scenery and 17 days.
Yeah, fantastic. Tell me about the Panama Canal Transit. How did you find that?
You know, I thought it was going to be very long,
Mm-hmm.
and it was. We started in the canal at 5:30 in the morning,
Right.
and they opened up the bow of the ship so that you could go out and see as you entered each canal and went under the bridges and everything. So we started at the Bridge of Americas as we started to go through. And totally through the day, there was somebody on board that gave you the history of the lock that you were going through, the history of that part of the canal. I did not find the day boring at all. I was really intrigued
Yeah.
because somebody said to me, "Oh, you're going to be there all day,"
Yeah.
you know. I did not. And we exited our last lock around 1:30, probably came out into the Caribbean around 3. And that was then there was the difference.
Yeah.
The calm waters were gone.
Oh,
We were
really?
in the Caribbean Sea. Yes. Yeah, it was different. Yes.
So quite a difference between the Pacific and the Caribbean Sea.
Well, I just thought, oh, I'm back in the Caribbean again. Like it's the cruising of the water that I was,
Yeah.
thinking of
Yeah.
that I was going to have in the Pacific.
So
Yeah.
I have to ask, like the colors of the water in the Caribbean is beautiful,
Absolutely.
depending on the day.
Yeah.
There's a stark difference between the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean, I would gather.
Yes, absolutely. You hit that blue water and you know that you're in the Caribbean Sea.
So does it happen just kind of like that? You can leave the lock and there you are.
No, you kind of sail out a little bit. You sail out through a passageway a
Yeah.
little bit, and then all of a sudden the waters meet and you see the Caribbean blue sea.
Oh, neat.
Hmm.
So basically, your transit is about 8 or 9 hours. Yeah,
Yes. Hmm.
yeah. What were your favorite ports along the way?
I loved Panama City. I thought Panama City was very intriguing. And I hadn't been there before. Even on a Caribbean cruise, I hadn't been to Panama City. So I really liked Panama City, the old city.
Right.
Again, a lot of history there. They're very proud of their history there. So it was very intriguing. I liked Lima.
So
Yeah.
how does that work with Panama City? If you're going to transit the Panama Canal, how do you do an excursion off ship? How does that work?
Well, Panama City was one of our ports.
Okay.
So we went in from there. It was like, 15-minute cab ride. That's about it. If you're coming from the other side and you're going into Gatton Lake, I think we have to remember that the Panama Canal is only 50 miles.
Yeah.
So either way, you can transport into Panama City, whether you're coming from the east or the west. If you go into Colon, then you can get into Panama City.
Okay.
Yeah, we just happen to be, because Panama City is on that side, of the west side of the Panama Canal. It's just easier.
Now, one thing that's always near and dear to my heart when I'm talking about any cruise is the culinary and the food on board. I have to circle back a little bit. On the Pacific side, with Peru and Ecuador and Chile, did you get a chance to sample any local flavors?
I didn't sample the food, mainly because I have food allergies.
Okay.
Some of the people I were with, though, did, and they said it was quite good.
So in other words, all along the way, there was lots of opportunities for different experiences
Yes,
like that.
yes. And on board the ship, they did have South American dinner sort of thing. That one day, we were coming in from Lima. And they had the chef and some of the people in the kitchen had gone to the market. And when we were coming back, they were getting on the bus that we were on, the shuttle bus that we were on, and they had I can't remember how many kilos of fish, but they had this all loaded on, and it took like 4 guys to carry this one fish on. and then they served it as a lunch.
Yeah.
One day they had it all there. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So we're in the Caribbean. Did you
Mhm.
have any stops at any other ports that you stopped at in the Caribbean before you landed?
Stopped in Aruba.
Just in Aruba. So then it
Yeah.
was just some nice sea days from there until Fort
Two, two,
Lauderdale.
two, 2 sea days from Aruba to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, fantastic. What about, if you're considering this itinerary in South America, is any special vaccinations or anything that you need to complete this trip?
Did not need No,
Yeah.
did not need any vaccinations for this. I wasn't going into the Amazon or
Right.
anything like that. So on that side, that itinerary, I did not need any
Right
vaccinations.
on. And what about anything special that people should think about packing, or just your regular cruise packing?
You know what? I would say make sure that you have light clothing, but layered.
Okay.
Like some mornings it could be cooler and breezier,
Right.
but other than that, most of our weather was very, very warm because we were coming up across the equator as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, everything was, I would say, just layer and lots of sunscreen,
Yeah.
lots of sunscreen and a hat for sure.
Yeah. Not exactly packing for an Alaska cruise, but definitely layers.
No,
Yeah.
not cold layers or
Yeah.
fleeces or anything like that, but just layers so that you can protect yourself from the sun, I think.
What about currency on shore? Anything? Any special recommendations for that?
Yes, Chile has their own currency and Peru has their own currency. In Ecuador, they used the US dollar.
Okay. So
So you would just need a little bit, like you wouldn't need a lot because you know that on board ship you don't need any money.
right.
And if you've got your tours from the ship and or anywhere paid ahead of time, you don't need any money. But if you were going to stop for a market or coffee or whatever during the day, then you want a little bit of money.
Are you able to get that currency on board, or should you prepare to take a little bit with you?
Well, you can't get that currency on board,
Yeah.
but you know the other thing is you can always use a credit card. There's always tap, and other than that, it would be an ATM machine.
Right on. So this is a fantastic itinerary, Carol. Would you recommend it for people that would be mobility challenged, or is there anything that folks like that may need to think about?
I would recommend it
Mm-hmm.
for mobility challenged people. The thing that they would need to think about is there are certain companies that do have special vehicles for mobility challenged people. And there are shore excursions from the ship that are like panoramic view of, say, Lima, or panoramic view in Ecuador that they could take. Absolutely.
And again, it comes down to a conversation with your travel advisor about your limitations and what can be expected. At 17 days, that's quite a long time, and not a lot of folk, not everybody can get away for that length of time. What type of demographic did you see on board?
I was surprised. I saw a lot of mixed, not young,
Right.
not very young at all. I mean, there was only two children on this cruise. But I think the demographics are the people that are wanting more than 10 days in the Caribbean,
Right.
the people that want a little bit of history, that are interested in history and the culture of South America, definitely. Anybody that wants to do Panama Canal, but with a different pre or post of Panama, like cruise pre or post of Panama Canal instead of just through the canal. Anybody that really likes sea days, 8 sea days is a lot of sea days. That's half that cruise.
That's a lot of relaxation. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of relaxation. That's right. And believe me, there are people that love their sea days. They take transatlantics all the time.
Yeah.
Or the people that do Vancouver to Hawaii and back. That's 5 down, 5 back.
Yeah.
So, but the good thing about these sea days is that you had max 2 sea days. Then you had a port and some overnights. So they were spread out.
Right. Well, Carol, this is absolutely super information. Is there anything else you'd like to advise people who are looking to book a similar itinerary?
I would think that if you were going to do this, that you speak to a good travel advisor because there's a lot to be aware of when you're going to a place like this. And there's, things that you want to make sure that you're going to do and not miss out on as well.
Right on, right on. And if folks wanted to reach out to you, Carol, about a similar itinerary, how would they do that?
You can reach me at carolp@cruiseholidays.com, or you can contact me at 905-337-2228.
Well, that's perfect. I'll leave that contact information in the description for those of you that might like to reach out. But as always, Carol, since I love to live vicariously through the travels of all the wonderful guests I interview, I have to know where are you off to next?
That could be a surprise. I have a few things in mind, so I will keep you posted on that one.
All right. Well, that sounds good to me. I'm always up for a surprise. We'll have to have you back so you can regale us with your adventures in Never Never Land. How's that sound?
Definitely sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, Carol, with that, I'm just going to wish you safe and happy travels on all your future adventures, cruises, and destinations. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you on a Lido deck sometime soon.
Thanks, Ken.
Take care. And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Carol Patterson of Cruise Holidays of Oakville. If you'd like to reach Carol, I will leave her contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach out to us with a question or a suggestion for a future interview, you can send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com, visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, share, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels.